Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beating the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Now, coming up in today's podcast, we're going to be looking ahead to the two big matches coming up in the EPL on the weekend. Arsenal takes on Manchester United, and rivals at the top of the table, Man City, they face off with Fulham. Now, joining me this evening to preview these two matches and to talk some EPL football, Christophe.
Good to be back, viewers.
Yes, indeed, Christophe. Welcome back to the podcast. And the season is winding down, Christophe. I mean, 2 match weeks to go. And of course, the European finals have also been decided as well. Real Madrid will face off with Dortmund, and a massive upset there in the Bernabeu, kicking out Bayern Munich. And of course, Kane seemed to be going this season without a trophy, eliminated now from all four trophies that Bayern Munich was in contention for. The only thing left on the agenda right now is the Euros. I mean, Christoph, give us your take on that Champions League semi-final second leg. How did you see it? I mean, Bayern were leading up to the very end, and then of course Real Madrid came back and snatched it.
Well, to be fair, you don't expect Real Madrid to get beaten at the Bernabeu. So, despite the fact that Bayern led for majority of the game, this how you say this stance that teams have been taking in the Champions League, where maybe they have some sort of advantage and then decide that they're going to defend it out, is I don't think it's a very good thing to be doing. Specifically because it's just one goal in it, so it just takes one goal for the opposition team to get back into it. So when you have an advantage, press it. So the result didn't surprise me. I fully expected Madrid to win. But there were a couple of controversial refereeing decisions. A goal being ruled out for Bayern Munich, but also I'm aware that a similar situation happened in the first leg where a goal was ruled out for Real Madrid. So I don't know if it was a balancing of the scale, so to speak, type of situation. But um, as for Kane not going without a trophy, I mean, we could have you could see that that was coming based on how Bayern was playing all season. Very dreadful. I think Thomas Tuchel is just not as good a coach as most people think he is.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. I must concur with that last sentiment. Tuchel has been atrocious since taking over at Bayern Munich, and the results are there for us to see, in all honesty. And as you rightfully say, Bayern's performance in the league, in the German league, was nothing to write home about, and that translated over into the Champions League itself. In fact, it may have been a huge surprise for them to even get this far in the competition when all is said and done, in terms of how they were playing as a team. Quality is there in the squad, but in terms of the chemistry and just galvanizing as a unit, that seemed to be lacking. And I echo similar sentiments in terms of the defensive stance that Tuchel sought to take, having gone ahead into that game and was actually leading. He pulled the majority, if not all, of his attacking players. Kane, Sane, all of them came off with and brought on defensive reinforcement, which seemed to not have worked. In fact, Christophe, if memory serves me correctly, the Champions League in many moons ago introduced this away goals rule that was unique to the Champions League. And I believe it is because of this very reason why that rule was even introduced in the first place, where teams would pretty much approach these Champions League game very defensive. And as a result, the Champions League saw it fit to introduce the aways goal rule. But again, subsequent years, they have now changed back that rule, and it's now regular goals. Away goals doesn't really count for anything at this moment, and we may see a paradigm shift, as you alluded to, where teams pretty much approach these games rather defensive, lock shop, and then hope to pin something when they play the second leg at home. So that is something to keep an eye on going forward. But our attention shifts, Christoph, and it shifts back to the EPL this weekend coming up again. Still tight at the top of the table, 2 match weeks to go, so to speak. City still have a game in hand, which they will play Spurs midweek. But next on the agenda for Man City is Fulham, Christoph. Can Fulham create an upset and really give us something to cheer about going down into the final games of the season?
I mean, anything is possible, but it's very unlikely that Fulham will, you know, hold Man City to a draw or even get a win. They're coming in into this game on the back of some very poor form. Um, Similar thing for even Spurs when they go to play Spurs. Spurs is coming in on poor form as well. I think Spurs have lost um four of their last five heavy defeats.
Yeah,
So,
but the thing with Spurs, though, Christoph, the history of Man City and Spurs, we've seen, especially playing away from home, Man City have struggled to really get the better of Spurs away. And that is possibly a good place to start for the Spurs team and for the Spurs coach. That Man City hasn't really beaten them
but
uh often away from home.
I'm sure Spurs didn't expect to be beaten by Arsenal at their home, but they got
Well,
they got beaten by their rivals.
stranger
So
things have indeed happened. Stranger things have indeed happened. But I mean, Fulham isn't as bad as it seems, to be honest. I have been really impressed with the body of work that Silva have put in at Fulham, in all honesty, ever since he brought them back into the Premier League. And, based on that body of work, Fulham has now become a household staple in the EPL, so to speak. You really don't see Fulham looking to uh, be involved in the relegation fight. And in fact, the next step forward for them would be to vie for one of those European positions. They have solidified themselves as an authentic EPL club. And, Silva, I must give credit to Silva. He has done a tremendous job and he does have the tactical knowledge and capabilities to really put up a stern test against this Man City team. I mean, Liverpool beat them 3-1 about 3 games ago, and they're coming off the back of 2 consecutive draws, drawing 0-0 with Brentford in their last Premier League outing. So while their results have been indifferent, at home, they have managed to put up a few good performances. In fact, they are one of the few teams which got the better of Arsenal. So is it beyond them to get the better of Man City, Christoph? That is the question. Do they have the firepower to hurt this team?
I mean, as we said, anything is always possible, but I don't see it happening. To be honest, they're not
Mm.
going to beat this Man City at this point in time.
So pretty much Man City will be coming all guns blazing then, Christoph. What? Another Haaland hat-trick then is what you're saying?
Potentially, we know Man City will be trying to get as many goals as possible because they know if they drop any points, then they have to depend on goal difference. So they're shortening that gap between them and Arsenal in terms of goal difference at the moment.
Definitely a big motivation coming into this game. And as you say, Arsenal do have a slight advantage in terms of the goals. And of course, they will be looking to put as many past Fulham as is possible to give themselves a cushion, so to speak, just in the event that one of those remaining games end in a draw. Then they will still lift the EPL title on goal difference. And I'm sure Arsenal themselves would be banking on that as well. That if Man City was to drop points, then when you look at the goal difference, then Arsenal has a superior goal difference when compared to Man City. So it's really all to play for this Man City team. They have to go full strength, all guns blazing, playing away from home versus Fulham, and in midweek as well, playing away from home versus Spurs. And Spurs would have some extra days to prepare, so to speak, for this Man City team and, come guns blazing. But Christoph, in terms of your predicted scoreline, what says you for this game versus Fulham?
I would be saying, 4-5 nil Man City at the moment.
So you're not anticipating Fulham getting at least a goal, a cancellation of some sort?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Fulham has nothing to play for. If we even say that they play with a certain amount of freedom as a result of it, it opens up a lot of space at the back. And I foresee if that happens, then Man City, Haaland likes that space specifically. If you play compact, Haaland won't get anything. But once you give him that space, he's going to score.
Interesting analysis there. For me, I do believe Fulham have enough firepower. The Brazilian Munez, he has been red hot in the last couple of games, in all honesty, or ever since he made his Premier League debut in the latter half of this season. And he has been finding a goal here or there, in all honesty. And it's not beyond this Fulham team to really put up a stern test or a stern fight versus this Man City team and even getting on the score sheet. Man City hasn't had the most airtight of defenses, and with them looking to push for goals in the event that they're leading, winning, possibly comfortably, then some space may open up for Fulham to really exploit on the break. So for me, I do think Fulham will score. However, definitely I believe Man City will come away with another fairly routine win. I am looking at possibly a scoreline of 4-1. Of course, Haaland getting on the score sheet as well and really upping his goal tally, chasing down or leading in terms of the Golden Boot award right there for the most goals in the EPL. So for me, it should be another routine win for Man City. As you mentioned, Fulham has very little to play for at this point in time. Just pretty much seeing out the fixtures, can't be relegated, not necessarily vying for any European position, pretty much just holding firm in the middle of the table. So the players should be playing freer. The pressure is now off. And again, much like the Wolves game which Man City had, players should be able to play with a greater level of freedom, a greater level of expression, and possibly go there, express themselves. And as you say, that is what the likes of a Haaland feeds off when teams aren't as compact as they once were and are playing a bit more loose, not as tactically disciplined. And definitely, with the chances that Man City score, he will definitely get chances. And, the sky's limit in terms of how many goals he can muster in this one. So for me, it should be a fairly comfortable Man City win. I'm calling this one 4-1. But the big game, Christoph, is on Sunday. And this one, Arsenal takes on Manchester United at Old Trafford. Another must-win game at the top of the league. And Arsenal must win this game regardless of the Man City result, in order to give themselves any sort of fighting chance come the final day of the season. Talk to us, Christoph. How do you see Arsenal approaching this game, and what can we expect from this Manchester United team, having lost 4-0 to Crystal Palace in their last outing?
Well, I would have expected that Arteta would have taken a look at that Crystal Palace game and saw how Crystal Palace played and performed in that match. But it's despite Man United's poor form, it's one of those matches, a rival match, derby match where form really doesn't matter. Teams tend to step up in these types of games. And for Manchester United, they always seem to step up when it comes to Liverpool and Arsenal, regardless of their form. They're always fine. find goals that they should not be scoring. Especially if you look at they beat Liverpool. They they almost drew with Arsenal in the first leg. In a game where they were mostly dominated, and I would say they got probably two lucky goals. It's difficult to say, but I think Arsenal would be trying to stop that counter attack because we know for a fact Man United cannot score, not even a set piece. We know that they are only a counter attacking team this season. That's the only way that they score. So you'd be looking for Arsenal to kind of pull defending at a mid block, not necessarily committing too many players forward. The problem for them, for Arsenal, is scoring those chances. We know Arsenal will generate a lot of chances, but they also take a lot of chances to score. So I believe Arsenal can win, but it's down to taking the chances that they get. Um, Based on
I
form,
mean, Christoph, you're talking as if this game will be close. You're
yeah,
you're
I think it will
it
be a
sounds
very
as if
close
you're
game.
giving
It's one of those
Manchester
games. One
United
of
some
those games
sort of
that Man
chance in this
United.
game.
What's that?
It sounds as if you're giving Manchester United some semblance of chance in this game.
Yeah, yeah, they have a chance. Like I said, it's one of those games that despite how poorly they're playing all season,
Having
they will
lost 4
find
nil to Crystal Palace
they
and the sort
they
of
will find they will
injuries plaguing
find
their
form in
defensive
this
line.
game, regardless of how poor they've been. They find a performance against Arsenal. They find a
Mm.
performance against Liverpool.
I mean, at this point in the season, Christopher, I thought you would have been showing more confidence in Arsenal, a team vying at the top of the table. I mean, if you can't beat a poor Manchester United team, I mean, you don't really deserve to win the title, in all honesty. I mean, Crystal Palace put 4 past them and it could have been worse.
But
And I mean, Arsenal is a far superior team for Crystal Palace. So, I mean, granted, Manchester United returns home, but I can't see anything other than an easy Arsenal win in this game.
I don't anticipate an easy win. I anticipate a fight from United. Again, they will find a performance against Arsenal. They do not want to lose regardless of
So
how poor they are.
technically, then it would then appear that this is a ready-made game for Man United based on how they play, playing on the counter. Arsenal is a possession-based team, so one would expect Ten Hag to line up in a low block, absorb pressure, and then break on the counter. So this is almost like a ready-made game then for a team playing like Manchester United. Then, Christoph.
Ideally, but that is how Man United for a very long time, back from Arsene Wenger and Sir Alex, that is how Manchester United has always played against Arsenal. They know that they will not or don't want to try and dominate possession against Arsenal. They will play on the counter attack and get those goals. That's how they've always done it.
Possibly Bruno should be back for this game, Christoph. So he should add a bit of offensive firepower for this team. Do you think Ten Hag will persist though, Christoph, with the Casemiro Jones experiment there in the heart of the I mean Evans Evans and Casemiro experiment in the heart of the Manchester United defense, having been pulled apart by Olise and Eze in their previous game?
Well,
Or will some other semblance of formation be rolled out?
um, I can't speak to know what Ten Hag's thinking process is or anything like that. I don't know. He might persist with it, thinking, "Hey, it's going to work this time," or he might, throw something completely different. I can't say. I don't know. I have no idea what Ten Hag is doing at any time.
To be honest, I was quite shocked, Christoph, to see Evans and Casemiro playing centre back for the great Manchester United team. Shocking stuff, I must say. And they got the deserved reward, which that sort of partnership warranted, 4-0, 4 goals without reply. And as I said, it could have been worse. Casemiro being pulled left, being pulled right, being completely bamboozled by Eze in a couple of those goals. And it was rather, I mean, how do we describe it? Casemiro was a shadow of his former self. This is not the Casemiro of Real Madrid. The
I mean, but
multi-Champions
there,
League winner, the multi-La Liga winner, the Brazilian maestro. I mean,
I mean, they're playing Casemiro in a very unfamiliar position, unfamiliar role. Casemiro is used to playing in that defensive midfield where he will track and screen players, and that doesn't necessarily work as a centre back who is probably expected to hold position and then wait. So
uh,
it's not a defensive role, yes, but it's not the same.
right, right, right. So pretty much, Casemiro being made to look worse than he is by being deployed out of his regular position then.
Um, Definitely, but we've seen all seasons where Casemiro is definitely past his prime.
I mean, but offensively, Christophe, I mean, this Manchester United team have struggled all season for goals. I believe right now they may have a negative goal difference in terms of goal scoring. So that has been one of the major issues with this team as well. Not only keeping the ball out the back of their own net, but also putting the ball in the back of the opponent's net as well.
I mean, I
The,
don't I don't think I would say that they've struggled to score goals. I mean, they do. I think they've struggled to keep the opposition out. They have scored what 53 goals and have conceded about no 52 goals, conceded 55. So they have a goal difference of -3. That's the problem for them that they can't keep anything out. And we know that Man United cannot break anybody down. They will play on the counter attack and get goals. And that has worked for them all season. 52
so how
goals
does
is,
Arteta stop that, knowing that is what they will come with? What will be the plan that Arteta comes with, knowing that he must win and also that he must stop the United counter, as that's the only real way they can really hurt this Arsenal team. So, what is the approach that Arteta needs to take to ensure both things happen? Score at the other end and prevent the counter. What's the
well,
strategy there? What's the tactical
it's
approach?
largely about discipline. And you have to tell a number of players, hey, when we're attacking, this is what needs to happen. These players need to stay back in order to stop that counter attack. And they partially have their playing style partially takes care of that because we know that when Arsenal go forward in attack, not both fullbacks do not go forward. Somebody always stays back so that there are at least three players back at any given time. And right now with Partey and Declan Rice, we have Declan Rice, who was a defensive midfielder, turn 8, who is capable of defending from the front, capable of winning the ball high up the field. But then we also have Partey, who is there to screen as well if somebody gets past Declan Rice. So I think Arsenal already have a structure in place that kind of prevents counter attacks at the moment. But anything can happen on the day.
So that's pretty much the midfield three you're looking to be deployed then, Christoph. Partey, Rice, and Odegaard.
Right. And I mean that has to be the midfield at the moment. I mean, Odegaard is a must, guaranteed starter. I think he um Declan Rice has been getting a lot of praise, but I think Odegaard has been Arsenal's best player all season. The work rate, the drive, galvanizing the team.
And the usual back four then. Or
Right.
who would
Well,
you deploy at the left back position? That seemed to be the contentious position that Arsenal seem not to be able to nail down to any one particular
no,
player. Sometimes
I
it's
don't think that
Zinchenko,
I don't think
sometimes
that
it's
position need
Kivior.
contending anymore. I think that position right now belongs to Tomiyasu. Before we saw it was Kibior. The reason Tomiyasu probably wasn't playing was, due to injury. And we know that Arteta has seen where Zinchenko cannot be trusted in these bigger games to play as a left back because of the defensive liability that he poses. If he were to start against United, we know United will attack that left hand side of Arsenal defense, and you would expect them to get a number of chances from there. So I'm expecting Tomiyasu to start there. Kibior did a very good job when asked, but I think the problem for him, and not really a problem, but he doesn't offer a lot going forward. He's more defensively minded. While with Tomiyasu, you get both. You have a player who can play as a fullback as well as a centre back, and he is capable of pushing forward. He will invert and come inside, but he will also go wide when needed.
Mm. So he probably the player who gets the start here and probably give Arsenal that right balance entering into a must-win game of this magnitude. But that being said, though, Christophe, I mean, what says you in terms of your predicted scoreline? How do you see this one playing out?
At the moment, I'm going to go with a 2 nil Arsenal or 2-1 Arsenal.
So Arsenal to come away victors in this one, 2 goals to nil or 2-1. I am leaning towards a similar scenario, but I think I'm not expecting anything different from this Manchester United team. And in fact, playing in front of their home crowd, I expect an implosion, So I'm actually going to call this one 5 goals to nil for the Arsenal. I think they will put a few more nails into that Ten Hag coffin and carry on from where Crystal Palace left off. I believe the confidence in the United camp should be rock bottom at this point in time. And Arsenal coming to Old Trafford knowing they're vying for the title at the top of the league, pretty much needing to win. I think they will enter this one with blood in their eyes. And a disciplined clinical approach will be taken for this game. Of course, nothing other than that would be demanded by Arteta. So I just feel that Arsenal is going to come into this one with the sort of quality in the team, the Sakas, the Odegaard, the Havertz on form, possibly a Trossard or a Martinelli on that left-hand side. And of course, as you mentioned earlier, Rice and Partey and Odegaard forming that midfield trio. I just think they're going to take the game to Manchester United and just full their goals, full their net with goals. So for me, I'm going to call this one a big win for Arsenal. I'm going 5-0, one better than the defeat they suffered to Crystal Palace, plagued with injuries, lack of discipline, lack of quality, confidence low, unmotivated. I see nothing other than a big Arsenal win for this game. And at the top of the table, I believe things will remain as they are, you know. And of course, Man City playing in midweek should tell us fully how this title will be decided on that final day. But I mean, other games are on in the league, Christoph. I mean, the relegation battle is also heating up. Any final thoughts on this weekend's set of matches coming up?
I think it will be. I mean, the relegation battle is always going to be interesting, but I think probably the next most interesting match for this weekend will probably be Liverpool versus Aston Villa. Um, I think it will be an interesting tactical watch for those who like tactics, but it could be very interesting for the neutral, we're potentially looking at a high scoring game overall.
Definitely. I concur with that analysis as well. Aston Villa having been booted today from the Europa Conference League, being taken down by Greek giants Olympiacos, Christoph. And Olympiacos are now in the finals of the Europa Conference League. Aston Villa provided the last hope of some European silverware for English teams, and they were the last English team to fall. So currently, as it stands, not a single English team remain in European competitions. They are out of every single final. Champions League, Europa Conference League. West Ham went down to Leverkusen, and now we see Aston Villa bowing out to Greek giants Olympiacos. So it should definitely be an interesting one. Aston Villa versus Liverpool. Confidence should be low in the Aston Villa camp, while Klopp will be looking to end his tenure at Liverpool on a high. I believe this game takes place at Villa Park, Christophe, if memory serves me correctly.
Yes.
So Liverpool will be playing away. So, the Aston Villa fans should be up for this game. Possibly tired from their exploits in Europe. As you say, it should be a high scoring game. I do expect both teams to score. Uh, Emotionally, I would lean towards a Liverpool win, but really, uh, from a footballing point of view, this game can really go either way, in all honesty. And as you say, it should be a high scoring game. Liverpool do possess enough quality to get the better of this team. And pretty much with everything being locked up for Aston Villa at this point in time, I don't believe they have any real fears of being overtaken in that fourth position. Now being eliminated from Europe, pretty much most players have their eyes on next season, and the lack of motivation and tactical discipline that might be creeping in at these final stages of the competition. I believe Liverpool should come away with a win just because of the superior talent on display, in all honesty. I don't believe Klopp will come with any superior tactics or strategies. I just believe man to man, Liverpool may be the better team. And, with the game probably being very open, if Liverpool are clinical enough, which we know they always create chances, it's just a matter of whether they take their chances. And of course, Aston Villa, not the best of defenses all season. I just think the lack of motivation in terms of what they're playing for at this point in time, Liverpool may very well get the better of them. But I believe it should be a high scoring game. It wouldn't surprise me if this one ended 4-3, 3-3, 3-2, some very high scoring game. And possibly Liverpool may come away winners, but I don't have the best of confidence really. Both teams have nothing really playing for. They're just seeing out the fixtures, in my opinion. The Liverpool players may have a little more confidence and may have a little more motivation just to send Klopp off on a winning note. But outside of that, not much else here to play for, in all honesty. But lots of games coming up, viewers and subscribers. It should be another exciting weekend of football action, and things are really boiling down in the EPL. We are at our penultimate week in this year's edition of the English Premier League. Of course, coming up in the summer, we have the Olympics, we have the Euros, we also have the Copa America. So this summer should be a summer of football entertainment, a summer of sports, with the Olympics taking place over there in Paris, the Copa America, of course, taking place in America, the United States, and the Euros being hosted in Germany. So lots of sports, lots of football to keep us entertained during the period when the EPL is not active. But again, Christophe, I'd just like to thank you for coming through and really sharing with us your footballing knowledge and opinions. Viewers and subscribers, thank you for tuning in to us here on Beating the Press podcast. Of course, help the podcast to grow by sharing. And of course, if you haven't subscribed as yet, hit that subscription bell. But until next time, this is Rafa signing off.